Hi everybody, welcome back to my Dungeon Boss campaign series. We are at Chapter 14, picking up right where we left off with the extremely short Chapter 13. The recommended level on Chapter 14 is 35. It is a 8 dungeon chapter, so we're expecting it to increment to 36 halfway through. I'm already level 36, so we should be able to go through pretty much all of these without having to worry about being under leveled. So we'll be at level for pretty much most of it. Looking at this one here, we're dealing with primarily blue dungeon. This guy here is just a little event guy, so don't worry about him. So basically the only one that might be problematic as far as this dungeon goes would be Koros. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave Koros out of this, and we will bring in Cobalt instead. So additionally, it might be better to bring Nub Nub as a healer instead of Yasmin. He's got elemental advantage over the blue guys, so they won't be able to hit him as hard. So, and then we have Grognog and Kira to do our damage, so should be sufficient. This will actually be the first dungeon that I've run with Nub Nub. I have not included him in any videos thus far. I actually just unlocked him as part of the dwarf quest line because I needed to basically kill dwarves with a goblin, and he was the only one that fit the bill. So he's now on my roster for good, and he will be one of my primary healers. Him and Yasmin are basically two healers that go the entire distance in the game, whereas some of the other ones have their high and low points throughout. Nub Nub because he's epic, Yasmin because she's epic. They both fit really nicely into their respective teams. Obviously, Nub Nub is a goblin team person, whereas Yasmin has a lot more options with her teams. But both of them are very, very useful in in-game content. So everything's going as planned so far. Pretty much like that. The only issue is if we don't kill one, if they're going to go after Cobalt, because he's got the lowest defense out of all these guys. I picked Cobalt to go against the armor just because, you know, he is a caster. He does have a little bit of an extra potency there. And actually, he's probably not even going to get a turn because Grognog's going to finish them off. Maybe not the healer lady, but she's not actually going to hurt anybody. So let's just auto this to the end. And that's why I brought Nub Nub for the crit heals. So Nub Nub in a stage of all water heroes is just golden. Can't go wrong with it. So if you have a green team, bring a green team to this dungeon. You'll probably clean house pretty easily. Next up, Sacred Forest is yellow and green. So in this case here, I like having Grognog on my team, so I'm not going to replace him. I'll just take Cobalt back out and put Koros back in, and then we'll keep Nub Nub in there for healing. We'll use him pretty much exclusively going forward. The only benefit of using Yasmin over Nub Nub this early is if you wanted to get a couple of extra attacks in the normal speed round before they actually get their attacks, and I just don't I don't see that as being necessary at this point. If I'm getting to the point where I can't kill them decent enough, then maybe it's an issue, but I'm perfectly fine with leaving Nub Nub on his own round. Plus, the benefit of Nub Nub going after they attack is we can actually determine if we need to heal, because we will not have to worry about what damage is going to incur after Yasmin would have taken her turn. So it's actually kind of a good deal as far as letting Nub Nub go last, because it gives us more options in terms of what we want to do. But there is argument at level 70 that Nub Nub should have something that increases his speed to a normal hero, because his epic isn't as useful as it could be, because the rest of the goblins kill everything before he even gets a turn. I've seen that myself. But you know, I've gotten used to him being a slow hero, so I'm not overly, you know, critical about that. Fun fact here, senpai, if anybody is an Office fan, Dwight was once a senpai, which is basically assistant to the sensei. So it's equally as respected as a sensei. And if you don't watch The Office, you need to buy seasons 1 through 10 or however many seasons there are. It's a great show. Alright, see how Senpai can handle against Purging Pyre. He actually took it pretty well. I'm pretty impressed. We are going to do some buffage here. I don't know what he's going to do. Sometimes these guys do, these little wizard guys do like a searing hack type thing. There's one guy in Firelord Temple. It is absolutely brutal. He does a triple attack right out of the gate, and he has the Savage Fury trait, so he gets stronger as you kill him. Definitely not fun. But we took it to him pretty easily. I expected more out of Koros. I'm not seeing the results that I have with him at level 70, and maybe that's just because he's unascended and maybe doesn't have the best runes, but I'm expecting him to kind of one-shot everything, because that's basically what he does at level 70 PvP, and even in some of the dungeons, he just kills everything that moves. Cobalt. Oh, how about that? Cobalt is actually an enemy. I would not have guessed that. So occasionally we do run into our brethren. I kind of feel like bringing Cobalt along just to do Cobalt versus Cobalt, but he's drastically more powerful than mine, so I'll leave Cobalt on the bench for this one. If you wanted to, do that yourself, feel free to do so. I wish there was some sort of a in-game feature when they did run against themselves. There was something that happens, but I'm guessing that's probably too hard to program. I think it would be really neat in PvP if you have one hero versus that same hero. Something happens, kind of like, I don't even know what I want to do. I'm just going to kill these guys with AoE. I like killing undead. But yeah, you'd think that when a hero meets his counterpart, something epic should happen. Whether it be like Harry Potter and Voldemort's wands connecting, or maybe like, if you really want to get awesome, Time Cop. That's always a fan favorite. So same matter can't occupy the same space. Once they touch each other, it creates this weird little blob of gelatin that destroys them both. That'd be kind of neat. But that is a topic for another day. But like I said, I think it would be kind of cool if something happened when you fight yourself. It should be, should be something. Dungeon itself, not very hard. Grognog is doing plenty, and I mean, we have the elemental advantage with both Grognog and essentially with Koros too, because he's not behind. I probably should have switched back to Yasmin instead of Nub Nub because of the elemental component. That was just a oversight on my part. Now, technically speaking, this is probably going to be one of the first most difficult bosses we've faced throughout all of campaign so far. I don't think anybody else has been a 5-star boss so far. So he may very well be the real deal. So I could focus on these guys here, but honestly, I'm going to throw a big pot shot right on Cobalt to start with. We have elemental advantage plus Blessing of the Seeker, and it took out a quarter of his health. So we're going to do this. Alright, so Cobalt's not going to be able to get any buffs, really. He doesn't really have any way to get buffs. So there's no reason to save this attack here. A lot of times when you get to boss fights, it makes sense to save Koros' attack. Just in the event that there's a massive team buff that comes out, you want to, protect yourself, and then you can cleanse that buff. There's the Pandemic Swarm. Hit Nub Nub pretty hard, and now we're all diseased, so the healing's going to be way down, but I think he's about dead where he can't possibly survive here. Even disease, I think Kira's going to kill him. Nope, not quite. So overall, not too threatening. Like I said, bring Yasmin instead of Nub Nub. It's probably a smarter choice for the bulk of the dungeon. Alrighty, we got one more. I don't know how many other familiar faces we're going to see. We don't see that very often, that's for sure. So, Raider Camp. Cobalt 10. Team-wise, got a bunch of 3 stars, so maybe they're finally starting to get tougher as we transition into the latter half of the dungeons now. I'm going to keep this same team here. I don't see any real reason to change it. I get free heals out of Nub Nub with those crits, so preserves his energy. If things get rough, I'll throw the old defensive buff on there. Healers, they're nothing. That guy is nothing. Didn't even really get a chance to taunt. Same as before. Trying to get a crit heal from Nub Nub just to top off Koros. What I'll probably do, just in the interest of safety, I highly doubt that the Chapter 14 Stage 4 boss is going to be anything to worry about. But one of the boss mechanics I like to do, and I do this as much as I can, is to go into the boss room with some sort of buff on. So let's just throw Stout Team on there just to play it safe. It is something that I like to do with most of my boss mode runs that I do if I'm trying to beat certain stages for the first time. It's always a good idea to think ahead right before the boss room. What can you do to make this a little bit more tolerable? In this case, a little bit extra defense is nice. Sometimes it's just a matter of healing. Sometimes it's some other buff like attack. If you're using Valken, maybe you're going to prep his, can't remember what it's called. Metal, stone meets metal or something. I can't. Something with stones and metals and polishes his weapons and stuff. His middle skill, basically. Because if you time out Valken correctly, you get that nice transition into the boss room and you can haste everybody, and it's pretty awesome. So having a taunter here would probably be nice. I don't anticipate that he's going to kill anybody, but you never know with these ninjas. They have a pretty potent attack when they do like a from the shadows type attack. And actually, I read someplace that Shadowblade with his From the Shadows, comparatively speaking, is the highest single target attack in the game. Partially because it ignores armor, I believe. But it's like the most potent in the entire game. So it wouldn't surprise me if this guy can actually hit pretty hard as well. And he didn't really even get another chance. He died of burning. Alright, so Chapter 14, we can definitely see it's getting tougher as far as enemies go. So maybe we're going to get to the point where it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge as we get closer and closer to Chapter 21. I mean, we are 2/3 of the way through the campaign, so you'd expect it to get a little bit more difficult as we go along. But that's going to wrap up the first half of Chapter 14 with this video. So any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, we will see you again. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.